dumpster fire. And a lot of things going on in the NFL, including Ryan Tannehill refusing, or at least claiming, that it's not his job to mentor the quarterback behind him. We'll talk about that and more. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove Podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up in me?
Welcome into an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Podcast presented by Shocked Energy. Go to shockedenergy.com. Get yourself a low-calorie, no-sugar energy drink and great flavors, watermelon and green apple. And again, you get those at shockedenergy.com. If you use the code STOVE, you get 10% off your purchase. So make sure you go today and get your Shocked Energy drink. Well, it's a new day as we coming to the end of a new week, and plenty of interesting things have gone on in the sports world throughout this week. I welcome in, as normally do on our Friday episodes, my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, how you doing?
Doing good. Like you said, a lot of interesting stuff to talk about tonight. So,
yeah, and it's interesting because it's not the normal stuff necessarily. A lot of additional stuff going on and things happen. And have you recovered from the NFL draft? Are you have you officially talked yourself into how great the Packers draft was? How you feeling about that still at the end of the week?
Yeah, I get more and more positive every day. So I love to follow stuff. And of course, with the internet now and Packers.com and a lot of other things, you can really kind of keep up on different things. And of course, they're going to be positive, but I love to see details about, these kids and the ones they're bringing in and the tryout players. So yeah, very interesting to me to try to keep up this weekend where they got the rookie mini camp and just see how stuff goes. So yeah, very positive about that. Found, the schedule is going to come out, I guess, next week. Found out the Packers play the Giants over in London this year, and things are starting to move along with the schedule. So,
yeah, we have missionary friends in London, and I was thinking I might need to schedule my trip to go visit the missionaries sometime next fall. You want to come with me? We can we go visit missionaries together if you'd like. But you're right. More NFL news will come out in the days ahead. Well, Dad, let's just start with NFL since we're already on the topic. One of the biggest NFL news things that hit the news, I guess, this week was Ryan Tannehill's comments when he said, it's not my job to train, teach, mentor Malik Willis. And let me get your thoughts on it first, and then I'll share my thoughts on it.
Well, again, I think you kind of have to look at situations a little different, with which team. Of course, again, I always think, Brett Favre talking about it wasn't his job to mentor Aaron Rodgers from there. And again, Aaron Rodgers said he learned a lot from Brett Favre, and it was by observing and learning stuff like that. So part of what Tannehill said makes sense, but I think you have to look at the team and the players, the people involved. Tannehill, bounced around. I don't know that we ever thought he would be a starting quarterback and as successful as he has been. And, I don't think he wants to give that position up. Malik Willis, it looks like will take some time. He has a lot of ability. So I don't think, I don't think you want a quarterback to, submarine anyone. But I think basically Tannehill's, what I heard, his comments that, hey, he can observe and he will learn that way. I think there is some truth to that. I think at Tannehill's age and where he's at, for him to try to, groom Malik Willis. And again, I think the Titans are a funny organization. I mean, they would turn on him in a heartbeat. So I think he's probably playing it safe. If he had to do over, he might not have answered that question or might have handled it differently, but he obviously should have known that question was going to come. So, again, I don't think it's anybody's job to try to help somebody else take their job. There is certain teams where the quarterback's older and, he's established. There's not going to be any question, and he's going to help the next quarterback to come along. But I don't think there was anything necessarily improper about that.
So I've gone. I was originally anti-Tannehill on this, and I've kind of come back around a little bit on him. First of all, I agree it's not his job. It's not what he's getting paid to do. It is the decent thing to do. It's not. I mean, you don't have to spend every waking moment with the kid, but to say, my comment was, if someone was there to mentor Ryan Tannehill when he first came into the league, how much quicker would he have developed? How much better would he have been in Miami had he had that stabilizing? If he had someone like where Ryan Tannehill is now, just to kind of take him under his wing a little bit. Again, it's not teaching him every trick and everything like that. It's just being there for a younger player. I look at guys like Alex Smith, I think, is probably the best example that I thought of so far. When Patrick Mahomes got drafted in Kansas City, I'm sure Alex Smith wasn't happy. I'm sure he wasn't, jumping up and down about it, but he did his job, and everything that we know, he did a part to at least encourage Patrick Mahomes, and he understood, if I do my job, I'll get a job somewhere else. And so when his season was done in Kansas City, he got a pretty good contract elsewhere. For me, that's kind of where I am with Tannehill. Is there's no reason why you can't mentor him. You're not getting, that's not your job, but it's just the right thing to do. And you have to think about, boy, if you were him, if you were Willis, what would you want? And one of the comments that was made that I saw was, well, this is a sign that Tannehill is scared of losing his job. Favre, not scared of losing his job necessarily to Rodgers as much as he was just angry with the team. Maybe that's the same situation with Tannehill. Maybe he's not scared of Malik Willis. Maybe he's mad that the team drafted. It's a third-round draft pick for a guy who most people thought would be the first quarterback taken in the draft. I don't think you can be mad at the organization about drafting a quarterback in the third round, whether or not it's a kid that a lot of people have high expectations for. But the reason why I've kind of come back to Tannehill is now not everyone, but athletes, NFL players are really busting on him, saying now, he can't lead the team and all this kind of stuff. And I don't think you can take one comment in a press conference soon after the drafting of a more than likely replacement, that you can take just that one statement and say that throws everything else out that we know about him. So I think we got to have at least a little bit of step back, let it play out a little bit, see what he does, and maybe as bold or blunt as a statement was, maybe that's not actually how it'll end up once they get in the room together and working together and things like that. Now, you look at Rodgers and Jordan Love. There's some issues there, I'm sure. Rodgers always said the right things. Hey, it's not his fault. He's not the one that made this decision, those kinds of things. And he says that he treats Jordan Love well, and they seem to get along fine. But, I don't think that he's pouring into Jordan Love the way that he has Tim Boyle or Ben Kirk that's there now as the third-string quarterback. Yeah, he's going to be a little nicer to those guys because they're never going to threaten his job. But Tannehill, I still think, should do the decent human thing and help out a young guy a little bit, show him how to be a professional. And can he learn that by just watching Tannehill? Maybe, but I don't understand why you can't put a little bit of time also into helping, welcoming him to the league and doing your part there as well. Am I, too much on that? Or just because it's not his job, does it also mean it's not the right thing to do?
Again, I think it kind of comes down to the personality of the players. And I think Tannehill always has seemed like he is a decent guy. And I think, like you said, before it's done, I don't think you'll see him, doing the wrong thing. I think, again, he should have known the question was coming, but I think for it to be asked the way that it was, it was hard. If he said, oh, yeah, I'm going to mentor him, then, okay, immediately you got to see things happening and stuff like that. So I think as long as he's not against them, and again, I think, it depends on personalities, not to get bogged down again, going back on Brett Favre. Brett Favre was always scared of losing his job. I think that's why he broke the record for consecutive games. He knew if he ever missed a game, that could be it. And there's two reasons for that. One, because Rodgers had potential. Two, that's how Brett Favre got his job.
Right.
Brett Favre was not ready to be a starting quarterback, and the other quarterback got hurt, and he never looked back.
Yeah.
And so he was always very concerned about that. I don't know that Tannehill is that way, but again, Tannehill's found him a spot here that he didn't find anywhere else. So I don't think he needs to relinquish it anywhere soon. And Willis is a guy with a lot of raw ability, a guy that could make things happen. He comes in and does things probably Tannehill cannot do. Then what happens? So, it'll be an interesting situation. But I think what was said, probably wasn't the right thing.
Yeah, and of course, I've not been a huge Tannehill supporter, especially in recent years. I feel like he's overrated. I liked him when he got drafted. I liked him in Miami even, and I still like him to a degree now. I just think people overvalue him. I've kind of come to this comparison. You can give me your thoughts on this. I think his ceiling as a player is healthy Alex Smith, and I think that his floor as a player is Jay Cutler. And if your floor is Jay Cutler, I don't think that's a bad. I don't think that's a knock. So that's where I see Tannehill. He's not a Aaron Rodgers. He's not a Russell Wilson. He's not the greats, but he has a good niche. He's found a good niche, and he plays good football. So that's why I think I've got him in that Alex Smith, Jay Cutler range as a quarterback, which is why he should be scared of Malik Willis eventually taking his job. But I don't think, from everything that we hear, Malik Willis is not ready to take his job this year. But it doesn't sound like Tannehill is excited about the idea of playing one more year in Tennessee and then Malik Willis taking over. So, and again, I don't blame him for that aspect of it. I just think that there's a better way, especially as a leader, as a quarterback, there's a better way to handle that question in a way that doesn't come off as I'm a jerk and I'm only in this for myself. As a quarterback, you have to be team centric, at least behind the podium. And so some people can say, well, he spoke the truth, so that's a good thing, maybe. But if he's my quarterback, if that's the way he's feeling, I want him to lie about it. I want him to show a united front and to show the boldness that he has, that even helping Malik Willis, he holds his job. That's my thoughts on it at the very least. And anyone listening, feel free to share your thoughts on social media at Sports Stove, Twitter and Instagram. We're also on Facebook and YouTube as well. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles real quick, Dad. One of the big question marks coming into this year is the NFC East. A kind of, in my opinion, wide open division. Washington maybe got better, depending on how Carson Wentz plays this year. Dallas maybe got better. Maybe they got worse with getting rid of Amari Cooper. But they've added some pieces. Then you've got the Giants. They got a new head coach, new offensive system. How does that work out? And then you've got the Philadelphia Eagles, who seem by all means to have gotten better with one exception. They didn't do anything at quarterback. And so my question is, and I know we've talked about Hurts some, but is Hurts the guy? I mean, he's got the weapons now. We talked about Cincinnati, and I'm surprised more people didn't follow the mold of Cincinnati and just going all in on weapons. But Philadelphia added weapons. A.J. Brown comes over in the draft day trade. They still got Devontae Smith. They've got Dallas Goedert at tight end. They've got Miles Sanders at running back. Not all top tier players, but they're all good players. Is Jalen Hurts the guy that can take Philadelphia to an NFC East title in a somewhat weak division? They're not bad teams, but they're not great teams either. So that's ultimately what I'm getting to. Hurts has the weapons. Does he have the talent?
Yeah, I think yes. I think he has potential to take them to winning the division. I think it'll depend again a little bit on coaching. I mean, getting in again, they need to work. He's got ability and he's got weapons now, and it's the coach's responsibility to some extent to get a system where he can be successful. Now, if they get a system and it just doesn't work. He just can't read things. He just can't do it. I mean, we know he can run, and so he breaks out of the run more than he should. Then we can say that that won't work. And if it doesn't work in Philadelphia, he may have trouble hooking on somewhere else. But I think with the talent they have, they should be able to work a system. And again, the division they're in, they should be able to have success. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And you really got the weapons. You got the two, like you said, the two wide receivers. You've got a tight end and a quarterback like Hurts that can run. A tight end is a big thing. And then if you've got the threat down the field, which they have now twofold, then, again, I haven't studied them all together, so I don't know, their offensive line situation and everything like that, or their defense. But I think they have potential, and I think he does.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a wide open division. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of unknowns in that division this year. We'll talk about that as we get closer to the season, of course. But Dallas seems to be the most stable, which is odd to say. Franchise there in the NFC East. Again, the Giants, new coaching staff, still have Daniel Jones as their quarterback. The Commanders, right? Yeah, the Commanders, they've got new quarterback in Carson Wentz. They've got some real talent as well. Then you've got Philadelphia with everything they're doing, second year in the system, all that kind of stuff. And then you've got that's everybody. I guess that's everybody. So interesting, to say the least. That's a conversation I'm sure we'll have as we get closer to the season as well. Speaking of quarterbacks, Dad, we had one quarterback drafted in the first round this year. A surprise for many, definitely a surprise for me. I predicted 4, so I was way off on that one. 2023 NFL draft. Currently, the over/under that is set for quarterbacks in the first round is 6.5. After a year where we go 1, I wrote an article. You can find it on bellyupsports.com and asked the question, are the days of reaching for quarterbacks over? It looks from the early predictions like, no, they're not. Next year, there's going to be everybody going for a quarterback. And there's some good ones out there, no doubt about it. But 6.5 quarterbacks in the first round, how much do you think that number changes throughout the college football season?
Well, I think it will change. I think that's a little bit high. And I looked at some mock drafts, and there was 8 or 9 names just looking at a couple different ones, which of course is way too early. There are some teams that we feel like definitely are waiting this year to get their quarterback next year. And you don't know how quarterbacks are going to end up this year. We've talked about a couple. We just talked about one. With Jalen Hurts, and there's others there. Even some of the teams that maybe drafted a quarterback this year. How's that going to work depending on how these quarterbacks, and you never know how that's going to go in college, with injuries both in college or in the pros as far as people, needing a quarterback. But they are at big name programs, the ones I've seen so far. And there's going to be 1 or 2 quarterbacks from smaller schools that are going to rise when it comes to the combine and everything. It always is that way. But you've got some, teams in really big name programs here that are going to be high profile, that everyone's going to, some of them haven't achieved yet what they were expected to. If they do, then boy, there'll be a whole bunch of them available. But, we kind of have to wait and see, how the college thing shapes up. But early numbers there's a lot of guys that, people are really high on.
Yeah, I'm looking at teams that could possibly draft a quarterback in the first round next year. Miami, if things go really bad with Tua. The Jets, if things go really bad with Zach Wilson. Don't see that happening, but maybe. I wouldn't think Pittsburgh. Baltimore, if things go like they did last year, possibly. Let's see here. Indianapolis, looking for a Matt Ryan replacement. Houston could definitely be in the market. Let's see here. Nobody in the West, probably. And the NFC East, you're looking at teams like Washington, Philadelphia, New York Giants would all possibly be in the hunt for that. In the NFC North, possibly Minnesota and Detroit. In the NFC South, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta, possibly, even though they got Ritter this year. Carolina, definitely. And in the NFC West, the Rams. I don't think they have a first-round pick, so scratch that. I think Arizona has things settled down there. San Francisco's got Trey Lance. Seattle obviously would be in the hunt. So there's several teams there that could possibly, worst case scenario, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 teams possibly. Next year, they could be in the hunt for a for a quarterback in the first round. So 6.5 is an interesting number for sure. It'll be interesting. But again, we're a long way away from that. A lot can happen before that ever comes around as well. Last bit of NFL news that I have at least is Tyrann Mathieu signing with the Saints. I think it's a good fit. I'm surprised Kansas City didn't bring him back. I thought maybe they would work something out. They did not. So New Orleans signs Tyrann Mathieu, of course, played college football in Louisiana and now will play possibly the rest of his career there as well with the Saints. Anything else NFL-wise that we need to talk about?
No, I mean, I think for right now, there's going to continue to be stuff coming up. We wonder if there'll be any other big moves this week. You've still got Baker Mayfield. You wonder what's going to happen with that. But no news is no news so far.
Yeah, I mean, considering there has been no news on Baker Mayfield, I mean, what's going to happen? He's not going to play for Cleveland. Cleveland has zero leverage in this situation. Seattle seems like the most obvious team at this point because they've got Drew Lock as their quarterback. There's people who are hurting for quarterback, but not that badly. Carolina's the other one. They drafted Matt Corral, though, so I think they're out of that category. So is there a surprise team like the Giants? Somebody like that could show up? I don't know. What I mean, you said Seattle's a great fit for it in the past. Is there anywhere else that makes sense as a surprise team?
Well, I mean, I think what you're looking for now, it's been surprising that nobody has moved on him. But again, there's different things, I guess, there with the contract. Biggest thing now would be an injury. Someone that all of a sudden needs a starting quarterback. He's a guy that would definitely fit the bill. And usually a lot of times, unfortunately, that can happen during the preseason. But, and again, there's a couple teams, I think Carolina, who said they're not interested, the Giants, the Seattle, depending how training camp goes and it gets into it, they may change their mind, rather quickly about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want them in before camp. And if you're going to have them on your team, I think you want them there as early as possible, of course. Carolina's out. 100% out. They've made that. Their players have made it clear they don't want it. If they do it, it would be an absolute chaos in Carolina. So they're out. So I think teams like New Orleans could be a surprise team. I think the Giants could be a surprise team as well. Outside of those two teams, injury is the only thing that could spark. Seattle's, again, still the most obvious place for him to go. So barring injury, those are the three places. I think those are the three teams you got to watch right now. And I'm not seeing any movement because, again, no one has any reason to at the moment. Seattle's been kind of stuck on this. Yeah, we're going to go with Drew Lock. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I'm all for second chances and opportunities, but I would take Baker Mayfield over Drew Lock unless they're just flat out tanking, obviously. And even tanking in Seattle, you're not gonna get below Houston. You're not gonna, so you're not gonna get the number one overall pick. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. Who does get the overall number one pick next year, Dad?
I'm sorry.
Who gets the first pick next year?
Boy, haven't really.
Houston.
Haven't
Houston makes sense.
Broke that down yet. It'd be. Houston's going to have a hard time being very good, but I don't know what they'll be the lowest.
I mean, Jacksonville's going to get better. Carolina could be in the hunt there, for sure. I don't think Seattle's going to be that bad. I think they're going to be bad, but I don't think they're going to be that bad. Detroit again, possibly. You could see them up there towards the top as well. But there's not a whole lot of teams that I see as vying for that number one pick. Those would be the teams that I'm thinking of. Let's see here. Yeah, Detroit, Houston, and Carolina. Those will be my three. Atlanta could be really bad this year, Dad. I know you like Marcus Mariota, but Atlanta could be really bad this year.
They could be. No, that's very true. So.
I might have to look at that one a little harder. Okay, let's get into the topics of Major League Baseball, Dad. had some interesting events go on this week. Let's start with Madison Bumgarner and the umpire. I called you today and I asked you if you'd seen it. You said no. I just read that he got ejected for a substance issue, for on his hand. I said no, that's not at all what happened. So I said you gotta look it up and watch the video. You did. The slow motion is creepy. If you see it in real time, it's not as creepy. It's still weird, but not as creepy. This umpire, Dad, in my opinion, there's no excuse. There's no reason. He was trying to get a reaction. He got a reaction, and then he threw him out. Now, coming off the field, Bumgarner was jawing at the home plate umpire, which is not the one who threw him out of the game. And the first base umpire, in my opinion, made up his decision. He just needs Bumgarner to say one thing to him when he's tossing him. So what can I do to make him say something? I stare him down. I rub his hand the weird way. He'll surely say something. He did. The umpire throws him out. I believe that umpire should be fired. I don't believe he should be suspended. I don't believe he should be disciplined in any other way. I think he needs to be gone out of the game altogether. Maybe you could say put him down to AAA and he can earn his way back up. But I say get him out. There's no place for it. Completely wrong move here by the umpire. What are your thoughts after seeing it finally?
No, after looking at it, I agree with you on that. There's really no place for that. I mean, it seemed like it was a very obvious deal where an official, was going after a player, and there's no spot for that. Maybe he was trying to defend the home plate umpire, but I mean, you don't need that. That's part of baseball. People yelling at umpires and things like that. And I'm not for swearing, but when you get reports of what was said, I don't think there was any reason to eject him, from the game. And I think it looks like that's definitely. I think you're right. It might have been premeditated. He knew he was going to do it, before he even approached him.
Yeah, they showed in the same game the third base umpire checking the Mariners pitcher for substance, and the pitcher walked over, held his hand out. The umpire touched his fingers, and that was it. And they walked away. This one, Bumgarner puts out his hand. The umpire grabs it with both hands. He's staring him straight in the eyes, feeling his hands. And then again, once Bumgarner realizes the dude's staring me down, he says something to the effect, I've read multiple things, but what I heard Bumgarner said was basically, hey, if you're going to act like that, you need to go down to the minors. We're professionals up here. And then he got tossed. And then, of course, chaos broke as Bumgarner had to be held back. And I can understand his frustration with it all. And, we're not supposed to be pro-violence, but I had a hard time keeping my hands off in that situation as well. So it's interesting to see it. I don't know. I've not seen that anything's been done yet to the umpire, but like I said, he won't get fired, but he should be. There's just no place for it at all. And like you said, if he was in his mind defending the home plate umpire, I can appreciate that to a degree, but there's a line. You're getting paid to know where that line is, and you crossed it. And there has to be a consequence for it. Maybe the consequence, Dad, is the umpire should have to work Cincinnati Reds games for the rest of the season.
There you go.
That would be a cruel punishment. Let's talk about those Cincinnati Reds. They led 3-0 on Wednesday night and Thursday night against the Brewers. Lost Wednesday night 18-5, I think, 18-3, and 10-5. On Thursday night. This program, the Reds, they're just an absolute mess. And they've not torn it down completely, but they've torn it down enough where they're going to be really, really bad. They clearly aren't. The organization is not trying to win. The players are. The managers are. But the organization is not trying to win this year. And you're up there near it. I'm down here relatively close to it too. Fans are pretty irate about how this season's going.
Yes, yeah, they are, and it's really a totally different vibe up here because there's so many Reds fans. I mean, the Reds are just a big part of everything up here, and you just don't hear anything about it. You don't see the Red paraphernalia like you did. It used to be when baseball season started. I mean, everybody had Red stuff on, and Red stuff on their car, and Reds things in front of their house, and you just don't, there's not that extent at all there. And so, again, I think the only way that this can pull out at all is, and I don't know that much about the Reds, the minor league system, if they get some young players start to come up, it looks like, boy, they're trying to develop something for the future, then maybe before the year is over. But I mean, I hear on the radio, you're trying to have big promotion about this going on this weekend and, this going on here. And I just don't know that anybody's buying into it or excited at all. You said that, that'd be very cruel for the umpire to have to do that. Maybe it'd be good. You wouldn't have to worry about getting heckled by the crowd a whole lot because there's probably not a whole lot of crowd there.
Very true. Let me give you this information from Jeff Passan on Twitter. He says the Cincinnati Reds are now 3-22. They have scored a National League worst 79 runs. If they doubled that, it would still be fewer than the runs that they've allowed. 166 runs. Their 6.90 ERA is a full 2 runs worse than the next worst team. Not nice at all. This is tanking at its absolute ugliest, Jeff Passan says. So if they doubled their run total, they would still not be caught up with what they've allowed, 166 runs as well. So we saw it in the offseason, Dad, when they got rid of the pitchers. Sonny Gray was gone. Wade Miley was there last year. I think he's gone, right? And okay. Michael Lorenzen, who they had in the past, he's gone. They tore it down, but like I said, they didn't tear it completely down. Houston, when they tore it down, man, they tore everything apart. But here you still got Joey Votto. You still got a couple of guys hanging around. Just get rid of everybody that's over 25 and start fresh. At least that way your fans kind of know what's going on. But it didn't help that the team president had some words about moving the team earlier as well. And just everything has gone bad. And maybe the worst thing that happened to the Reds was the Cincinnati Bengals going to the Super Bowl, because now everybody has something else to talk about. In the past, they never had the Bengals to talk about. Now they do. And so it seems like the fans have kind of moved on from Cincinnati Reds, at least until next year. They'll give it another chance next year when it comes back around as well. Let's talk about baseball as a whole, though. Things that are still shaping up. You have the New York teams and the LA teams both off to really good starts. The Yankees and the Mets both leading their respective divisions. The Angels and the Dodgers leading their divisions. I want to talk about the Angels, though, Dad. They are currently 2 games up on Houston. Houston's made a little bit of a run here the last couple nights. They're on a 3-game win streak. But we talked about this before the season started in our Major League Baseball preview. The Angels are this team that has stars, yet they're not in the playoffs, and they've underachieved. And this year, at least the way it started off, looks like we're finally going to see Mike Trout. We're going to see Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs this year. Is this something you think the Angels can carry all season? Or do you think ultimately Houston or someone else jumps them in the AL West?
Well, again, they've got great players, so you would think there'd be a chance that they could keep, the momentum going. I'm sure everything is much more positive with the fans. And again, if they've got other players and other support, I know for Major League Baseball would be excited to have a team doing well there with those kind of players. When you've got great players like that, if they don't get hurt, I wouldn't see any reason why they could be hard to catch.
Well, there you go. You said it. Mike Trout's been hurt every year. Shohei Ohtani gets hurt, it seems like, every year so far as well. Can they stay healthy? If they get injured, how much will it affect them? If one guy gets hurt, can they maintain? If both guys get hurt, that's going to be a problem. But nonetheless, so far, so good. Let's see here. The Milwaukee Brewers are the second team in the NL right now, behind the Dodgers. So they're finally coming around. They've had the opportunity to play Cincinnati the last couple nights, and that has worked out in their favor, putting up a whole lot of runs there as well. Let's see here. I'm looking to see the White Sox below 500 still. We thought they would be good this year. They're tied with the Guardians. That's the team in Cleveland, in case you forgot. The Boston Red Sox, 10-16 as well. So these teams higher expectations than what they're doing. Last year, the Red Sox overachieved and had a great run throughout the regular season. This year, the AL East seems to have kind of fit back into what we thought it would be last year. The Yankees leading, Toronto up there, Tampa in the mix, but Boston playing really to their talent level. It seems like, at least so far.
Yes, no, I think that's true. Teams have been some of the surprises, though. One, I look because I'm being a Giants fan, so I knew they had lost a couple games and were dropping there a little bit. But I looked at the division, and that division is the number one division right now. I think a day ago, every team in the division was 500 or better, and that's not what anyone would have expected at the first of the year. So.
You're right. Yeah, they still are as of this recording. Arizona's at 500. San Francisco, 14-10. Colorado, 15-10. San Diego, 16-9, and the Dodgers, 16-7. So yeah, they are playing a lot better as a whole. Colorado has been a lot better than we expected them to be so far. They've got Chris Bryant injured right now, so we'll see how long that lasts. But I still think eventually Colorado will come back down to earth. But I think the other three teams at the top should continue to be competitive the rest of the season. I think it's been a fun baseball season so far. Last year, I said multiple times, I think it was the best season MLB had for a long time. I think this year could possibly match that. The pitching has been phenomenal to start off this year. And then we got a lot of teams still in the mix here early in the season to make it kind of fun for the fans and things like that as well. Let's talk about playoffs real quick, Dad. We're in the middle of two different playoffs. We got the NBA playoffs going on right now. We are recording Thursday evening, so we can't really talk about the games going on here Thursday night. Let's see here. There are no games. Hey, how about that? Just kidding. We're live on Friday. We've got the 76ers and the Heat. Heat lead 2-0 in the series. They're the number one seed in the East. And they got the Suns and Mavericks 2-0 as well for the Suns. They're the one seed in the West. So it seems like, these playoffs have been really interesting, Dad. Probably the most interesting thing to watch, though, has been Golden State and Memphis. Just incredible series. Now there's some bad blood with the Dylan Brooks hard foul that broke Gary Payton's elbow and getting suspended after that foul as well. But so you add the excitement of John Morant and Steph Curry to now the excitement of added bad blood to the series. What do you think about these playoffs so far? You're a Celtics fan. They're tied 1-1 with the Bucks.
Yes, it's been, like I said, I've kept up on it a lot more kind of because of the podcast here and everything. And I have watched some, trying to watch a little bit every night. And there's been some really good basketball. I mean, there's been, they're playing defense, see some great I've seen some great passing and stuff like that, and enjoyed that. Again, it's a totally different game than what I'm used to because of the physicality and what's allowed from there. But it looks like these playoffs are going to be good. I think people are going to. I think whether your favorite team goes on or not, you're going to end up with probably 4 good teams in the finals, and players that are fun to watch and potentially teams that are fun to watch. But yeah, adding some of the bad blood to it is probably, added to some of the playoffs too. Be interesting to see how well Memphis does if they can stay in this. Yeah.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see for sure. I'll give you 60 seconds to talk the NHL playoffs. I've not watched a second of it. I keep up on what the Predators are doing. They're going to play a different goalie on Thursday night. But that game was over by the time most people hear this episode, so we can't talk a whole lot about that either. But anything that you want to share about the NHL playoffs?
I think it started off really, really well. Again, there's been some bad blood there, which in hockey, is always kind of a physical sport there. But when the Rangers in Pittsburgh have been that way, of course, you had the one triple overtime game already. And so it looks like, again, it's been exciting, Carolina kind of having their way right now. But I think it's all fine. Playoff hockey, like you said, is always good, and you can tell the fans are into it. Full arenas, and it's just totally different with it being on ESPN and TNT, and it's easy to see all the games, which has not been the case before.
All right, there you go. More information than I could have given. so there's that. We had something else to talk about, Dad. We're going to pass on that for now. The NIL stuff, we'll talk about that again in a future episode as well. But anything else you want to cover, though, before we close out today?
No, like I said, a lot going on now with 2 sets of playoffs, and like I said, the NFL schedule coming out next week. Just all the sports are up and going, and of course, you got, like I said, it is a good baseball season, so a lot of sports to watch, a lot to keep up on, a lot going on, and I think we're doing well.
Definitely. All right, I want to remind everybody to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Sports Stove. We've got episodes that come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so make sure you tune in for each of those as well. If you like energy drinks, go to shockedenergy.com. Use the code STOVE at checkout. You get 10% off your purchase. They have 2 flavors, watermelon and green apple. And again, shockedenergy.com. Use the code STOVE for 10% off your purchase. All right, well, I got housework going on around me, and things are about to get loud. So we're going to sign off on this week's episode of the Sports Stove. Make sure you tune in to the next one. Rate, review, share, subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning into today's Sports Stove podcast. Until next time, we'll see you